Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful night. So it is October 29th, and I just heard myself on here. And so we are going to be discussing the best werewolf movie that you have never seen, or never heard of, rather. That's actually an apt description of the cult following that this movie has developed. This movie is called Silver Bullet. It is based on the New York Times best-selling author Stephen King's short novella known as Cycle of the Werewolf. That was published in 1983. The movie was crammed out in 1985. Stars Corey Haim, the late Corey Haim. He died 12 years ago. Megan Follows, Gary Busey, and Everett McGill. And a slew of other actors, Terry O'Quinn from Lost and Hawaii Five-0 fame plays in this one. This movie is so freaking great. It is the perfect version of a werewolf movie that you can actually have. And I'm talking about all werewolf movies, folks. I'm not talking about just one style of werewolf movie or this werewolf movie or that werewolf movie. I'm talking about every werewolf movie. This one tops them, in my own opinion, plus a lot of other people's opinions, because this movie shows the werewolf only a little bit in each scene. It does a perfect amount of tease. It gives you a great written story. It shows, or it's maybe rated R, but it's actually a family fun movie to watch if you like horror movies. I was introduced to this movie when I was 4 years old in 1989. It came out in 85, but the first time I saw it was in 89 on VHS. This movie is just one of the best movies that I have seen growing up. It stuck with me growing up. I could still remember some bad dreams I had of the werewolf from this movie, and I haven't had any other dreams of any other werewolves besides this werewolf in my entire life, and I can remember most of my dreams. This movie is just that good, and it's not hype. It's not me just bullshitting to anybody. It's shut up, Ambassador. Anyway, he's put something in private chat, folks. But yeah, this movie is just
the smug grin.
Yeah. This movie is just that good. So with me, I got Nerd with a Cigar. Kate, how are you?
Hello. I am Kate, also known as Nerd with a Cigar. I watched this movie for the first time, and I had never heard of this movie before. And it was good. I enjoyed it, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And Ambassador, how are you?
I am doing quite well, thank you very much. This was also my first time watching this movie, though I have heard of it before. And I have to admit, yes, this is a very, very, very good werewolf film. As good as any other I've ever seen before? Maybe. I mean, I would say maybe the original Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr., or even American Werewolf in London. But this one is solid. This one is very good. Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely changing his name to Ambassador.
But you like us because we're dorks. You're also a dork.
I love you guys because you're dorks. But anyway.
I was a dork before being a dork. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Dork Club.
This movie was based
to the dork side.
As I said, this movie was based on the novella from Stephen King, Cycle of the Werewolf. There are a lot of differences in this book or this novella and the movie. In the movie, they literally had a lot of creative leeway with how the full moon works. Because let's just say that there's a full moon different times of different months instead of the 30-day cycle or the 28-day cycle.
Mhm.
So yeah. And Fuch Norris, how you doing? Good to see you.
Fook! Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. So this movie starts with the full moon, a chilling score by John Chataway. I mean, this really does, or everything about the score and the way that the sound effects of the werewolf, it all gives and enhances this movie's horror element. When we're introduced to the werewolf, the first very visible sign of the werewolf is in the beginning of the movie when we get the discussion or the narration from Telva, what's her name?
Ooh, she had a funny last name, or not funny, but
Tova
different.
Felcha.
There you go.
She's the narrator of this film, but she also plays she is the older narration of Jane Coslaw in this movie.
Mhm.
And the asshole outside is blaring his music again. So,
I can't hear a thing.
I cannot
yeah.
either.
Thankfully, you guys don't, because it's a dude literally walking up and down the street just blaring his music in the dead of night when kids are asleep. But anyway.
But it is not ruining the stream. That is good.
No, it isn't. So
She's
discussing that Tarker's Mills is your normal, family-friendly, people-friendly town that got plagued by a plague of murders over a year's time. And the killing had begun with a guy named Arnie Restrom. Jackass joke is yes, Fuchnars. Gary Busey's jackass joke. I'll tell it. I'll definitely tell it. And so you see this guy on train tracks. He's digging off a dirt patch, which is something they did back in the 80s, that way to stop problems from happening. Did you know that an alternate ending Blade Trinity had a werewolf? Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. Still doesn't compare to this movie at all. But so it shows a shadow behind some trees walking, and it gives that chilling, really dangerous kind of score that like dun, 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 almost like the Jaws theme, to be quite honest, but different and extended. And so you also hear the werewolf breathing. You see it a lot by its point of view in this movie, which is pretty cool. You actually see the werewolf's point of view in this, not like any sort of animalistic sense, because this is in the 80s, but it's just like looking at you or me. And this guy is like so drunk, he's just talking about how he wants a Rheingold beer, and he's going to pick up a shovel, and he sees two tracks that are absolutely not human. And he's like, oh shit. And then you see the shadow and you see the hand, bam, literally smacks off the dude's head. And then you see everybody reacting to the howling. What did you guys think of the first kill? We'll start with Kate. Ladies first.
Honestly, so I love slasher films, and I loved every kill in this movie. I loved the narration over it. I loved the mystery behind it of, oh, the town wasn't, really going to believe, that it was really anything other than, how normal suspicious people will just want to believe what's normal. Oh, well, he was a drunk, yada, yada, yada.
Fell asleep on the tracks.
Right. And then you get that really good edit of him decapitated on the tracks and then the train coming. And so it was almost as if this, without telling you, they were telling you, hey, well, they just thought that he got run over by a train and he fell asleep on the tracks. And I thought that the editing was really great in that moment. And like you said, they did a good job of not showing the beast in the beginning. I like the buildup of suspense. I like the not seeing things. I think most of the time that you get a horror movie or any sort of suspense building movie, it's good to not see the enemy or the monster until the end, because the fear of the unknown is better than when you can look at it and dissect it and figure out what it is. So I liked the first kill. Thumbs up.
Ambassador.
As someone who has watched many movies with many different types of beheadings, this by far is one of my favorites. Because the head just doesn't get chopped off. It comes flying off like a cork out of a bottle.
Yeah.
And you're like, jeez.
Yeah.
Those claws have got to be razor freaking sharp for that werewolf to cut through all the muscles and the arteries and the spine and cut clean through.
Yep. I mean,
and
his head wasn't cut off. It was smacked off.
Yeah. Just
so
gone.
The strength behind that. Folks, to put it in perspective, the amount of speed and force you need to do that is akin to a helicopter propeller to generate enough swing to take a person's head off.
With that velocity.
Yeah, with that velocity. You'd need that kind of strength behind it. You'd need a lot of strength.
Like more than a bear.
Yeah.
Well, and the other
a bear can definitely snap your neck with a good smack against your head,
but
it ain't taking your head off.
Yeah, with the drama of it flying off like that.
Yeah, I mean, when he smacks the dude, you then see a shot of the head flying in the air, and that's it. That's all she wrote. So then we're introduced to the town of Tarker's Mills, and old Jane is narrating how her son or her brother Marty was the cross that she had to bear. Marty was the cross I had to bear, essentially, is how she put it. And she basically Megan Follows was 15, 16 during the making of this film. And Corey Haim was 12 to 13 years, or 12 to 14 years. He was born in 70. She was born in 68. So he was, around 14 years old making this film when he playing a 12-year-old. And Marty he's a cripple. He was born without the use of his legs. And Corey Haim played this character, Marty, very well. And he has a friend who caught a garter snake, and they want to play a joke or a prank on his sister, and she tears her pantyhose, her legging hose, her pantyhose, lederhosen. And then Brady takes it another step forward and just throws the snake at her, and she falls into a puddle of mud and water, and her brother actually at this point was not happy because he didn't want his sister to get hurt. He didn't want his sister to get too pissed off.
Yeah.
And she is pissed off. She hates the fact that her brother, or that she has to look after her brother. She doesn't like the fact that her brother, everybody kowtows to him because of him being handicapped and whatnot. And she absolutely just hates the fact that he's basically treated better because of him being less in her eyes at the time. And then as she's walking off and Brady gets told off by Marty, she witnesses a woman trying to talk to a guy who's telling her it's your oven, but it ain't my bun. This woman's pregnant, and she's like, you need to help me. And it was a kind of an affair, but this guy does not want anything to do with the woman now that she's pregnant with his kid, but he's denying it outright, and she's just crying her eyes out. And then we get the trip to where they're going home. And in this movie, like I said, she's not afraid to frickin' just call it like it is. Or because the parents are kind of admonishing her, and she's like, you always take his side because he's crippled. Well, it's not my fault he's crippled. And she says it without any sort of sensitivity whatsoever. And so her mom tells her, it's like, you better watch your mouth or I'm going to smack it. So it's a nice little story about how the family is, and they get home and this kid has a motorized wheelchair, folks. First off, he has a motorized wheelchair.
Awesome.
Yes. The first one is awesome. The second one is goddamn epic. Let's just say that.
The second one needed a helmet.
Yes.
It needed a helmet. It was basically a motorcycle at that point.
Yeah, because folks, to be completely honest, try motorcycles that you see nowadays kind of got their inspiration from the motorized wheelchair in this movie. No joke. No joke. So, yeah, this kid could literally...
Like, I want one.
Yeah, I would kill to have one like that.
Like, let's make one right now.
I know. And so, they get home and...
build a rocket-propelled motorized wheelchair.
Yeah. And so they're talking about Uncle Red, who is played by the awesome Gary Busey, and
yes,
he's coming over, and she's like, "Is he coming over?" Or mom said he's getting another divorce, and she said he was drunk. Yeah, that's your great uncle for you, a chronic drunk. He is not. He is so. So she gets to have a little bit of dig at her brother. All right. And so then we get to the next scene where we are having, or was it the second kill, or was it the visit with Uncle Red? I can't remember the exact order, and I just watched this movie like earlier today. So
I think they piecemealed it so that you got a taste of, you know what I mean? They did a good job of editing so that you got kill and then some family bit and then a kill and then some family bit, you know. So
then, all right. So yeah, they show later, or they show the second kill now, and it's the woman who is pregnant, and it's the next full moon. So it shows that they're basically doing time skips of every month. Now, the second kill, you see the werewolf coming up the banister, or up the, what do you call that thing?
Yeah, banister,
not a banister, but, it's a thing that vines can creep up with on your porches.
And trellis.
Yeah, the trellis.
Yeah.
And you literally see the hands climbing up the trellis. And this woman starts taking pills, or she just pours a bunch of red pills, on a plate, and she just starts taking them while her mother downstairs is playing a nice little religious tune on the piano. I think it's a religious tune, but yeah, I think it's "My Eyes Have Seen the Glory." But anyway. She's playing that, and the werewolf's coming up, and this woman's just slogging pills, and she says suicides go to hell, especially when they're pregnant, and I don't even care. Essentially, this woman has been heartbroken because her boyfriend has dumped her, you know? She's obviously distraught.
Yeah.
And then when you see this thing come up in the shadow behind her and she sees it, turns, the whole scene plays out. It's cutting between the mom trying to get her gun, the girl trying to get away from this werewolf, because it also shows the claws tearing into her. You the lighting and whatnot. You see the eyes. They show the close up of the eyes a lot. They show the close up of the mouth and the jaws and the muzzle, but they don't ever, or they show you the whole body for about a half a second, and then they show a bunch of other things. And this thing is just tearing into her like this while the mother is trying to get up those stairs. She opens the door, turns on the light. Her daughter is done. She's dead on the bed, clawed up, dead. What did you guys think of that?
Kate, would you like to go first?
Since I went first last time, Ambassador, go ahead.
Oh, okay. That scene. Whew. I do want to backtrack just a smidgen. The dynamic with the family, it does make a lot of sense, because when you have a pair of siblings, whether it's two brothers or two sisters, or a brother and a sister, and one of them does have a physical handicap. In this case, the brother was born crippled from the waist down. There can build some resentment, and it can kind of create the situation where the parents do kind of coddle the son a little more, the child more so than they normally would. So I do understand where the sister's coming from, but you can obviously tell that she does love her brother. Yeah. And I did enjoy the scenes with the family, particularly with Uncle Red, played by Gary Busey. I honestly think this is one of his best roles, to be perfectly truthful. As to the second kill by the werewolf, it is vicious, it is bloody, it is as horrific a kill I have seen in a long time in a movie. You're talking to somebody who grew up watching Jason, Michael, and Freddy, although Freddy was kind of a wimp, in my opinion, but beside the point. And this werewolf absolutely tears this poor woman to ribbons.
And I mean, you see, if I may, folks, while we do discuss that this is indeed some horrific violence, it's actually toned down 80s style. She's torn up, she's slashed up and whatnot, but you are not seeing guts or intestines or anything like that. Continue on back there.
The other thing I did want to remark upon is, as you mentioned, how toned down this is, but the ferocity within the scene showing just how violent a werewolf can be. We've rarely seen a werewolf this bloodthirsty and this ferocious, and it is unsettling. I mean, it really gets that scene in particular gets very, very unsettling, because you are dealing with a woman who is with child, and Stephen King went there. Yep. And he's been known to go there, but the scene is great, honestly. So those are just my thoughts.
Now, another wonderful thing about this scene, before I give it over to Kate, is that every time you see this werewolf's eyes, the camera does the lighting is done where they shine a red light over the eyes of the werewolf. Mm-hmm. So that's another neat little camera trick that they did. Go ahead, Kate, your turn.
Okay. So I want to say, as far as the relationship between the brother and sister, I loved that we got equally the amount of gore as we got family dynamic in this movie. And we almost got it reminded me of the like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you get the sister pushing her brother with the wheelchair, trying to avoid, Leatherface coming in and killing them. And so, yeah, there is a burden on her to kind of take care of her brother in this situation. But as far as the second death scene goes, yeah, there is a sort of heavier weight to it than the last death. And this one can't really be denied. And I really liked the way that they built up the suspense in this, with the mother running to get the gun, because you can totally see yourself in the scenario. It's like, I know where the guns are in my house, and if anybody came into my house, there would be, running in certain directions. So it was very realistic in a certain way, where you're kind of yelling like, get it faster. But yeah, there was a heavier weight because that she is with child. And I wanted to comment on, like, the editing aspect was really good in this scene. It was almost like a Alfred Hitchcock style editing, where you get the slash of the thigh, and then it turns away and you get something else, and then you get the slash on the on the stomach, and you get these really graphic slasher 80s things, but then you also get like a windowsill, or the moonlighting in the window on the werewolf, and like you commented on the close up of the eyes, and and it was just really, I really liked this because it toned it up from the first death of the movie. It was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is a werewolf movie, and it really upped the stakes, and I liked it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I do like is that this werewolf is, while bloodthirsty, it's smart. This thing is not just pure animal instinct going to kill him or jumping straight at the most opportune time. This thing takes its time. This thing creeps up. It's watching its prey. It makes the move when it's time. It's hunting, essentially. Now, a scene that we did gloss over after they get home, the Kosloff family with Jane and Marty and whatnot. Marty goes into her room at night and gives her some extra money, and she asks him, "What's the money for?" He says it's for new pantyhose. I honestly didn't want Brady to go that far. It was his idea, honest to God. And you see that these two, or that brother and sister, actually do make up. There is cruelty there, but there is also love there. She does love her brother. She may not always be willing to admit it, but she does care for him. And he asks her, "Is it true what you said about Uncle Red?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm sorry that you found out the way you did. That was mean." And he's like, "Nah, it's all right. I never really liked Sheila anyway." So then we get the second kill, and then it's the kids, or it's Marty with Uncle Red. So we finally see who Uncle Red is, and it's Gary Busey pre-motorcycle accident, because back in 89 or 88, Gary Busey had a bad motorcycle accident. He was riding his motorcycle, and he shattered his skull because he wasn't riding he was riding without a helmet. I mean, you'd think he'd care about a helmet, especially when he's like, "You're going to need a helmet to drive this thing." And it's like, you didn't take your own advice. But anyway, he's telling the joke, and for Fooch Norris, I'll tell the joke. He's like, so this guy goes into a bar, or this guy's sitting at the bar, and he says, "Hey, jackass, pour me another drink." So barkeep pours him a drink. "Hey, jackass, pour me another drink." Barkeep pours him a drink. And he's like, "Why do you keep on letting him call you jackass all the time?" And so the barkeeper goes, "Hee-haw, hee-haw, he always calls me that." And you see the mother kind of come in to try to diffuse that, because she doesn't like her brother drinking around her son. believe me, I can completely understand that, considering when I was younger. And so he tells her, let him finish the game. They're playing like a poker game, or they're playing poker, and they're betting baseball cards. You can't bet managers. You can only bet this or that. And they finish the game and he wins, and he gets taken over to the automatic lift for the stairs, which is pretty cool, folks. I mean, if you've seen the Gremlins movie, you know what it is, and it's the same kind in this one. And when he gets up to the stairs, out of sight, Nan, the mother, her name is Nancy, but called Nan. Hey, Janet from another planet. Good to see ya. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat. And so she's like, I don't want you drinking about Marty, or drinking around Marty. And he's like, stop telling me what to do. You've been telling me what to do all my life. And so she's trying to explain he's an impressionable young kid, and I don't like it when he sees you like this. I don't want him or want you seeing or want him seeing you like this and whatnot. And he just gives it right back at her. It's like, you think your parenting only stops the moment when you're taking him in the chair or into the bath, back in the chair and onto the toilet. But there is so much more to that kid than you realize. He's actually willing to say that because he does think that she's over coddling Marty. And she tells him, well, I'm afraid that he's just going to give up. And he's like, he's not going to give up. Well, he doesn't need you showing him how to do it because, well, Uncle Red is now getting into a divorce, you know? And then he says to himself, another good night, or another beautiful night at Sister Nan's. And no, Tim's Talk ambassador is not asleep. Are you asleep, ambassador?
I hope not.
You're muted, buddy.
No, I'm still here. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Tim Talk was worried about you.
Hey, Tim. Yes, Tim, I'm still here, alive and kicking.
Good looking out, Tim.
We then get the scene that sets up the third kill, where it's Brady and a girl named Tammy. And Tammy is getting, or has Marty ride her home. She's riding on a bike, and he's riding with his motorized wheelchair. And on the back of the motorized wheelchair it says Silver Bullet. Mm-hmm. And she gets home. They ride past the place where the second lady was killed, or the pregnant lady was killed. And she's like, thank you for riding home with me, Marty. It was scary riding by there. And you see the father, who is just drunk as hell during the daytime. Tama, come in here and help your mom with the laundry. And she's like, there's something else that's scary. And Marty asks, what is it? And she points over to the shed that has a bunch of pottery pots for plants and whatnot. And she says that she hears noises in there every night, or every few nights, or every night, or something like that. And he's like, well, I'd check it out myself, but I think the bullet would get stuck in the mud. And so she gives him a nice little kiss on the cheek, close to the lips. For 12-year-olds, that's pretty damn good. The kid got to first base. Yes, and he's in a wheelchair, so that's even extra better, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's when her father reintroduces it, and it's like, Tama! And she's like, I gotta go. Thank you for coming home with me. And this guy's definitely freaking biased as hell, and you know he's gonna die. It's like, damn cripple. I'll electrocute them all, balance the goddamn budget with them all getting on welfare. It's like, oh my God, what a fucking asshole.
One of those. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those assholes.
I got a better idea. How about we do the exact same thing to you, Cletus?
Yeah.
Right, living in a double wide, like, calm down.
And then we also get
He's not even living in
the
that double
towns.
wide. He's living in. Sorry,
Yeah.
Orange.
And then we do get the townspeople are also reading the paper, and some of them are saying, "Ain't that something?" And then we get the bar with people who are drinking and whatnot. And there's this one guy who absolutely cannot stand the sheriff. He's pissed off at the sheriff. He's like, or Sheriff Howler wouldn't be able to find his own ass, or even if you jammed it full of radium and gave him a Geiger counter. And the cop, or the deputy, who is played by Ken Hart from, or not Ken Hart, but his last name's Hart. I think it's Dave Hart, who plays in the Heat of the Night. And he's like, well, I know somebody who's a little pissed off about getting charged $200 for a fender bender they had last year. And this guy shoves it right back at him. Cletus, the slack-jawed yackle, and his wife, Marlene. Yeah. So then he's like, we pay our taxes and we're paying to keep this, or these people, or we're paying for the sheriff to keep us safe, and this town ain't safe. Well, then another guy pipes up and he's like, last I heard you were in the rears with your taxes, Andy. I guess you caught up, huh? And so Andy goes up to take out this dude. Well, then we get the Peacemaker back, the introduction to the Peacemaker, which the barkeep has. And he's like, now you two better turn down your thermostats or you can both get the hell out of here. Now who's drinking? And then we get to cut to Tammy in their house. And then we get the next kill, where the father of Tammy is watching wrestling. And he's drinking those little beers, full bottle beers, not a can, but a full bottle, those mini bottles back that they had back in the 80s. And he's like, go get him, Rebel Airplane, bust him up, bust his chops. And then he hears a little bit of rumbling in the shed. He's like, those kids again. And then more rumbling until something actually falls over. Jet Sparks, good to see you. How you doing? And Vanja, good to see you. And he's like, puts down his thing. He's like, those damn kids, I'm going to get some rock salt and shoot your ass. And he grabs it. And he's like, bust up my posse. I'm going to bust up your ass. He puts some rock salt shells, which, folks, they used to custom make rock salt shells for non-lethal ammunition so that people would get the point if they ever came poking around, you know? Let me tell you, rock salt stings like a bitch. I haven't been shot by it, but I do know somebody who has been shot by rock salt. It hurts. What they describe is, well, salt on an open wound.
Yeah.
Except that it's the salt that's digging into you.
Well, it's like that one scene from Kill Bill Volume 2 when when the bride goes after
his
Bill's brother, and he's like, I just chilled her down real good. Well, then she comes back
salt
and
to the tits.
rock salt to the
Ouch.
But anyway, he goes out. Now, there is a slight little cut here. As a reviewer, there's a little bit of a cut here where he's checking and sees all of his pots busted up, and he's like, shit. And then it cuts to where the camera's right here, and he's walking through. It does kind of feel like a displaced cut a little bit, but he's checking out the place. You get a little scare from Spider coming down in his face and then getting pulled out. And you also see the werewolf underneath him while he's walking by. You see the werewolf's eyes track him upward. And then the place starts shaking and the werewolf comes up through the floor, pulls him onto a sharp piece of wood, and then he goes like, or he falls like that, and
impaled.
My
yeah.
headphones just came off. Sorry. But yeah, he then gets pulled into the hole, and you hear the werewolf
just going to town.
Yeah.
go to town, basically. Yeah, and another victim. Here we go. So, Kate, what did you think of the third kill?
Honestly, I like that we get a build up every time. This one wasn't as emotional as the last one. I don't know if it's just because I'm a lady and seeing a lady get killed while she's with
Oh, yeah.
child kind of gets to me. But as I was watching it, I remember I'm being like, oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah, gnarly, and it got the reaction from me that it wanted. And so I think it was overall, yeah, it was a great third kill, and like I've said before, I like that the buildup of each kill is a little bit gnarlier than the last, and so you're like, oh, this is a problem people need to take care of. This isn't just like something people can ignore, and so I liked it. It was good.
Ambassador.
I will say this for this movie. It has some of the most creative and well-paced kill scenes I have seen in a long time. The last movie I saw that had good kill scenes like that, is really suspenseful, like biting your nails on the edge of your seat, suspenseful, was like the very first Scream movie.
Yeah.
That's how good the tension and the suspense in this movie was. And I just gotta say it, I'm so glad Redneck Daddy got his.
Yeah.
And the daughter got to leave.
Yeah, because it's established later on that Tammy and her mom leave town as soon as her father got eviscerated. We are then introduced to, or afterward, where I think it's now they're outside, or he's with Brady and they're flying kites, and he's getting up into a tree and getting his kite or string down because his kite got stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So then his mom or his sister shows up, and it's like just a nice little back and forth between them. It's like, I ought to let you fall. But so she gets up and she's like, we're going to be late. Come on, Marty. He was supposed to be home because dinner was ready and whatnot. And he's like, Brady, you coming? In a while. And he's looking back at Brady because he knows that, or he just has this bad feeling, Now, also, the town is getting really quiet. They're getting really nervous. There's a 5 o'clock curfew. The mayor's kind of riding the sheriff, played by Terry O'Quinn, it's like, got any leads? We're working on it, Mr. Mayor. And he's also kind of pissed off because he's like, when are you guys going to get down here? We kind of need help. And he's talking to the detectives of the detective division on the phone. He's like, hey, fuck off. And he's like, I don't think it may have been a good idea to tell that old Smokey Bear from detectives thing to fuck off, Joe. Well, yeah. I waited till he hung up. And you just see that people are getting really nervous about it. And you also get a little bit more narration from older Jane. People are running into their houses. You see one mom pull her son while he's playing with toys on a little rock thing in front of the yard. And the kids are crying because he got pulled away from his toys. And the guy that really hates the sheriff is running a gun store. So he's putting out deals for single action and double action gun or shotguns for $200 and $300. And it's like, damn, even back then they were expensive.
Yeah.
So you see that the town is starting to get really shaken up. Well, then that night you see the guy that's pissed off at the sheriff continuing to rile people up. Well, He's like, one guy tells him, he's like, let the sheriff handle the investigation. This investigation is about as efficient as a submarine with screen doors. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. And the deputy has basically had enough of this dude's shit. He's like, I've had just about enough of you, Andy Ferton. Now, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to shut it for you. He's like, oh, no. Goes, what'd you say? And he's like, you heard what I said, motor mouth. He's like, okay, well, why don't you come? And they're getting ready to dance. Well, Brady's father comes in asking, has anybody seen his son, Brady? And, well, we are then cut to a very bloody kite that Brady was using. And it's the sheriff holding this kite, and he's doing a Hail Mary. He's reciting the Hail Mary prayer. And they show a gazebo where the body is. And they show, or you can't see specifically what it is, but you know it's not good. And so when the father arrives with the other deputy, he shoves aside the sheriff when the sheriff's trying to stop him. He's like, you don't want to go on. And he tries to stop. And then the way this man reacts, where he is absolutely he screams out in horror at what he is seeing. His son was torn to pieces. He was torn apart, is how they describe it in the movie. And we are then cut to the funeral, and we are also introduced to Reverend Lester Lowe, played by the brilliant Everett McGill. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this movie, Ambassador and Nerdy, did you pick up that it was him when you first looked at him, that he was a werewolf?
I did not.
Nor did I. I mean, I was honestly, as I was watching this, just briefly, and then we get back into it, I was like, I think I already know who did it, but I don't want to say who, for one. And it's, whew.
Okay.
Sorry.
And so,
I had a brain fart. Go ahead.
It's okay. And so, we then have Gary Busey. He's like, can I take let me take Marty home. And this is at Brady's funeral. So they're driving home. And he's like, they better get that guy. They better get him. And he's like, Uncle Red, yo, what if it's not a man? What do you mean? Well, what if it's some kind of monster? And he's laughing about it. He's dismissive. He's dismissive of it. And he's like, oh, yeah, what if it's some kind of monster? Like a werewolf or something. This 12-year-old kid freaking figures it out simply by sheer intuition. This kid understands that it could be something that it might not, or that defies human logic. He just has a feeling about it. A man that weird can be one. Yeah. Ambassador, a werewolf, a man that weird can be one. What the frick?
I always love it when the underdog figures out the ending before,
Oh, yeah.
Like even in Lost, like Charlie figures out the whole ending of the entire point before anybody else does. And then it's like we get this kid rolling around on a dope ass wheelchair, figuring out the whole point of the movie, just riding in the car with his uncle. It's a great scene.
Yeah. And this guy, and he tells him, he's like, Marty, you've got to get this idea out of your head. Psychotics are most active when the moon is full. And this guy's a psycho. Well, definitely a psycho. But, well, we are then seeing that the town is even more pissed off. And we're about to get to an even more bigger kill.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Dun dun dun.
yeah, everybody is just sick and tired of waiting for Sheriff Howler to get it going. And they're all basically coming out for mob justice. They're going to go out and hunt down the psychopath. Or they think it's just a plain old maniac that's doing all this killing. And we get the term private justice, where the sheriff comes in, he's like, or he tells him, he's like, I don't remember deputizing a single one of you. He's like, that's right, Joe. The only deputy you guys, that fat shitbag beside you. And none of you have done anything to solve in this case. We'll catch him. You couldn't catch a cold.
Yeah.
I mean,
great line.
It is a great line, but this dude is such a fucking asshole that it's like, great line from an asshole, you know? And
it's like he's right, but you don't want to side with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then you hear, he's like, the law has a name for what you all are planning. It's called private justice. And private justice is one step away from lynch mobs and hang ropes. Now, if this movie was made today, they wouldn't have that line.
No
way in
lynch mobs and hang ropes. I mean,
nope.
They're just not there anymore. You can't say it.
Buzzwords.
I just did twice. Yeah, big buzzwords. And he tries telling them, "I want you all to go home." And he's like, "No, don't let this guy scare you," or "No, don't let this guy scare you," or yada yada. And they're like, "Shut up, Andy. No, you don't tell me to shut up." Yes, shut up. And
shut up, Andy.
It's Brady's father. And he's like, he shames the sheriff. He's like, Herb, you shouldn't be here. My son, or I just got back from my son's funeral. You really shouldn't be here, sir. He was torn apart. I know it. My son, and he's like, you come in here talking about private justice to all these people. My son was torn to pieces, and he shows everybody the photo of his son. And he's like, I don't know about you, but why don't you go dig up what's left of my boy, and you explain to him about private justice. Do you want to do that? And the look on the sheriff's face says it all. This man has been shamed. He has been shamed. Yeah. And he's like, as for me, I'm going to go out and hunt a little private justice. Everybody follows him out. Or the asshole freaking looks at the sheriff and he's like, yeah, well, there you go. And everybody's going out. And the one person who is trying to stop them is Reverend Lowe. He's trying to stop everybody. Mm-hmm. And most people know nowadays that Reverend Lowe is the werewolf. He doesn't want to kill anybody. In this movie, he is aware that he is the werewolf. In the novel or in the novella, he's not aware that he is the werewolf until Marty sends him the threatening letters, which he does in this movie afterward. Mm-hmm. Now, in this movie, he's begging people. He's like, "Don't do this. This is a bad idea." And everybody's like, "Just get out of the way, Reverend." And he goes up to Joe Howler, the sheriff, and he's like, "Oh, let it go, Reverend. This is what you've been talking about, community spirit, right?" And it's like, this dude was literally trying to talk these people out of it, and then he's just fucking letting them go. It's like, dude, I'd pull your badge if I was the mayor. You do that, I'd pull your badge.
Yep.
And
for sure.
So everybody's out in the marsh, and we get a bunch of the townsfolk using guns that look like they absolutely have no freaking business using these guns. Some of them look like they can handle it. Others, not so much. They are dumb as fuck. They're hillbilly. And one of them steps on a bear trap.
So bad.
And the other dude is helping him. And they're like, hey, over here. And the dude lets go of the fucking bear trap. And the guy screams again. And he's like, God, these guys are going to take out this maniac. Fat fucking chance. And so they get down into
they couldn't take out a girl if they wanted.
Yeah. It's like you're right. They couldn't go down on a girl. And oh my God, man. They get down into the fog and we just lost Nerdy. Grandma. Okay, somebody needs to get this bitch out. We just got Soul Assassin or somebody. Fucking some yeah.
Hang on 1 second. I gotta get my tab.
Should have known where that was coming from. With the frickin' profile named Grandma. What the frig, man? Took too long. I got it. Block user. You're out.
I was working on it. Sorry.
It's all right. Soul Assassin, where are you?
He's in here.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks.
Something I want to comment on, and that's the funeral scene after I think it's the third kill before they go into the swamp and everything.
Yeah, it's Brady's funeral.
Brady's funeral, and everybody, the father is just. He's nothing that the Reverend is saying is giving anyone any relief or anything, and it's just it's heart-wrenching to see a father have to go through this. Now, as for the hunting scene, that scene is absolute comedy gold.
Okay, I can't for some reason put this person in timeout. We got Grandma back with a different freaking
hang on.
Error occurred. I'll be right back, folks. I gotta refresh in order to take care of this one.
As do I.
It's not letting me take care.
Oops, and it's just me now. It's not popping up on my chat. That's weird. Usually does.
Block user. Says error occurred again. Okay, maybe somebody already got a hold of this one. And another one. Well, seems I'm getting spammed again, folks.
Wait a minute. That's why I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that.
Anyway, let's ignore this person and continue on. What were you saying?
Well, as I was saying, the fog scene is absolute comedy gold. It's just not to mention it's suspenseful. It's atmospheric.
It's scary as hell, but
yeah, that too. It's scary as hell because you know the kills are coming. And the fog is so cheesy. Like, are they in a wood or are they in a swamp? Which is it?
It's essentially the woods. Not sure what happened. Okay, there's Nerdy with cigar. Anybody who is a moderator, kick these idiots out, please.
There we go. Got your ass now. Nope.
Make sure that you block them outright, please. Don't time out them, just block them.
Somebody already got him.
Yeah, apparently. All right, Soul Assassin. Thank you, Soul Assassin. That's why, damn, dude, he really is assassinating them. Won't let me enter the studio. Did I say an NP word? No, you didn't say anything like that. And apparently the stream's still going, so...
Yeah, the stream's still going, so I'm not sure what happened on your end, Kate.
What? Or no word. hold on, Kate. I'll
Do you want me to send her the link? I follow her.
yeah, send her a link.
Sure. Okay, we'll do. Give me a second.
Grandma
I'll open the tab real quick.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Alrighty. So we're gonna try to get Kate back.
There you are. Got her. Okay.
All right.
All right, Kate, check your
DMs, Kate.
Yeah, check your DMs. I'm sending you the link now.
Alrighty.
And sent. No, wait a minute, not sent. Yep. Okay. There you go, Kate.
Huh. Seems we have a very obscene grandmother that is just really pissed off at the world.
Well, for some reason, it's not popping up on my chat.
Well,
I'm not sure why.
This grandma is now been deleted, so.
Okay. Works for me.
Soul Assassin's getting them.
He is indeed an assassin. All right. Kate, check your DMs if you haven't already, kiddo. I just sent you the link. Anyway, back to the movie. Or are we waiting for Kate to get back in?
We're waiting for Kate to get back in.
Okay.
And I'm keeping a look on the
chat.
Oh, wow. You can actually you can disregard clip. So it turns out you can actually clip in the live chat on YouTube. Isn't that something? That's pretty interesting. I had no idea. Well, let's see. Paying attention to messages on Twitter. Is it working, Kate?
Well, she's got the link. So.
Well, okay, we're going to continue. She can. I've only logged into Twitter 2 times my whole life. LOL. Okay. Hi, or good to see you back, Fuchinaris. So the scrimmage line, and the fog. This is where the werewolf basically scares the hell out of him, growling. One dude's pissing his pants. Another woman's screaming. One dude gets half of his face ripped off. Bad dummy prosthetics, folks. One black guy dies. Another black guy lives because he's smart enough to book the fuck out. And the bar owner with the baseball bat, the peacekeeper, is running.
Peacemaker.
Yeah. And another guy, or the guy that set up the whole freaking mob, sees one guy come up with half a face or gets pulled down below the fog, and he fires his weapon. He's like, and looks down, and he's like, oh, fuck, I'm out, man. And the other guy comes up or with half his face gone, and the other black guy's like, yeah, I'm out. And he runs. So it's like, hey, even in this one, not every black person dies. Because let's face it, folks, in horror movies, almost every black person dies. That was basically a freaking trope back then. It was an unwritten rule. I don't support it, but that's basically just, it is what it is. It was what it was.
Yep.
Now, and pointing that out does not make a person racist. So, and if anybody has a problem with it, fuck off. I don't care.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I don't. And if anybody does have a problem with my channel, well, guess what?
Shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
That's essentially what you can all do if you have a problem with my channel. And, yeah. When she asks if he pissed his pants, you know what, you gonna make lemonade in your pants? I ain't scared. Let's go.
Yes, you are. You're scared.
Dude, he's so freaking scared. He pissed himself and he couldn't move until she freaking drags his ass out of there. And Mr. Baseball Bat's running, and he then gets pulled down. And you see him take a couple swings just above the fog. And then you see the busted up bat come up. I mean, the handle of the bat's been ripped off. Hey, good to see you, Happy Dino. And it's like, oh, shit. And this thing starts beating him to death. And it's like, yikes, you know? I don't know why she's been booted. So apparently she's been kicked out. I don't like that. I don't like why you're kicking people out. So I certainly hell didn't do it.
It might be a glitch. It might necessarily have been StreamYard.
Yeah.
StreamYard does glitch sometimes. You know, that whole sequence when they're hunting, trying to hunt the werewolf, and ends up the werewolf is hunting them. I'm sorry, I know it's not meant to be funny, but at the same time, it is hysterical. It is absolutely hysterical. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is the next day and the dream sequence with Reverend Lowe.
Yeah.
And I have got to admit, for a minute there, I thought that thing was legit. I thought that was actually happening. But then everybody starts transforming into a werewolf, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why would he be dreaming about werewolves when no one else in that town believes that it is a werewolf except for a couple of kids and their uncle?
Yep.
And that whole thing, it just turns into a giant werewolf orgy.
Well, I wouldn't say orgy, but all of them are going after him. You even see a freaking baby werewolf in this, dude. A freaking baby werewolf.
Even undead werewolves, because they're busting out of the coffins.
Yeah, they're coming at him, coming out of the coffins. You got the woman who's playing the organ, turning into a werewolf, playing it, ding, ding, and yeah. It's like, it's just so freaking nuts.
It's
Werewolf-palooza. Yeah. And then he wakes up and he screams out. And he's like, ah! And then he says, let it end, dear God, let it end. Well, if you didn't, or if you needed any more confirmation, there you go. Reverend Werewolf. So, we then see, or I think it's the next scene is Uncle Red is helping him or helping Marty with something that Marty can't see. and they're all having a nice little cookout at the Koslaw family.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Give me fellas in." Or no, wait, they canceled the fireworks. They're going to see the fireworks, and they find out that the fair's been canceled. The town's basically fucking barren, and the sister is kind of pissed off, or kind of is like, "Oh, look out, world! Marty the Great didn't get what he wanted," and so she's picking on him a little bit, and it's like, does kind of seem out of place, but whatever. So then they get home and they're working on the cookout, and Uncle Red's working on something for Marty, and we get introduced to the coolest fucking wheelchair ever, folks. I'm gonna try to find it on
You want me to see if I can find it and send it to you?
Bullet wheelchair.
Yeah, this has got to be, except for maybe Professor Xavier's hover chair from X-Men, the animated series, and from the comics. The best wheelchair ever.
Open in different tab.
You didn't just say screw off to Professor Xavier's hover chair.
I want this wheelchair. I don't want a hover chair.
Why not have both?
I'm old-fashioned.
No, you're just a square.
Okay, so let me now share this. And where's the stupid share thing? Present. I keep on. It's like, why don't just next time say share screen, you piece of shit. There we go. Folks, this is the wheelchair from that movie. You gotta you can't say that this is a bad thing. This is the most beautiful piece of freaking ingenuity, mechanical ingenuity for a 12-year-old that I have ever seen. I want one, and I'm not handicapped physically.
I want one, and I'm not handicapped physically or mentally. I want one of these. Oh, will you hush? Anyway. You're not mentally handicapped.
Oh, yes, I am. But anyway, that's beside the point. The 80s cheese makes it awesome.
Yes, Soul Assassin, yes, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, and when Uncle Red gives it to Marty, he shows him all the features, and then he gives him the bag of fireworks. And he's like, "Make sure you don't shoot him." Yeah,
we gotta cover all the shit that Uncle Red says. I mean, he's like, hold on a second, and he goes to check, and he's about to turn around. Red, hey! I just love it. Hey! And then he fucking just, it's so great. Yeah. Okay, now I'm just playing around with this, so I'll get back to this. And so, yeah, this kid, he comes back and he's like, okay, or coast is clear. I feel like a virgin on prom night. Now, the reason why that is so funny is because TMZ once asked if Gary Busey has ever heard of Raging Waters. And what he said, this was years after Silver Bullet was ever made, Raging Waters sounds like a virgin on prom night. I mean, it just, that's one, I'm guessing it's one of his go-to gags. And it just works. So we get the nice little
I love it.
The scene where Marty is riding it and he's like, oh, hit the brakes. Oh my God. Oh, the kid's dead meat. He's dead meat. And he comes back and his Uncle Red's just laying down on the ground. He's like, oh, you're looking at a dying man. And he's like, this thing goes super, super fast. I know it goes super fast, but you better watch it Because if your if your mom finds out how fast it goes, I'm going to be singing soprano in the Vienna Boys Choir. You know, I don't get you. When he says that, I don't get you. I'm thinking it wasn't Marty Koslaw in that scene when he says that. I think it was actually Corey Haim when he said, as Corey Haim was like, I don't get you. I know you don't. I think it was literally Gary Busey and Corey Haim not acting at that moment.
Nobody gets you.
Yeah,
Nobody gets me.
I mean,
I'm Gary Busey.
Yeah, Gary Busey ad-libbed most of the lines in this movie.
Why is that not
He
so
ad-libbed
right?
most of his lines in this movie.
They
gave him the script.
Mm-hmm.
He read some of the script, and then he's like, "Fuck you, I'm ad-libbing." You could tell which lines he ad-libs, folks, and you could tell which ones are not. So you see them having their nice little dinner and whatnot, and then he takes Marty out front to drive to his car, and you also see that Nan's not too happy about this new wheelchair of his, but he gives him the fireworks, and he's like, you're gonna have the 4th of July, but you're gonna have it in September. And he's like, so I want you to remember, it's not just about fireworks. It's so not bad happens to the good guys. And he's like, if you can get down with that, So we then hey, Comic Check. Good to see you, Danny. How you doing?
Hey, Comic
Silver Bullet is crazy. It's the best the best werewolf movie that nobody's ever heard of.
You were about to say
and yes,
superhero
Everett
movie,
McGill does play a bad guy or a great bad guy in everything he does. That's bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we then see that night Marty goes out. He sneaks out. He's going to be lighting these fireworks, and I love how they reveal that the werewolf is there by the reflection in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would remake it because the wolf just looks crap. Honestly, I thought the wolf looked great in this movie.
Werewolf
with what they had, the wolf looked great.
Werewolf.
If they remake it, it would cheapen the film. It really would. I mean, believe me, or Danny, I understand that a lot of people like things, but this is not a movie that needs to be remade. It's timeless. It's it's not timeless. It's definitely dated with some of the stuff in it, but this movie is definitely a movie that should not be remade.
No.
It really is. The werewolf in this movie was good, in my opinion.
Looks like,
and I'll agree to disagree with you. The werewolf in the Wolfman is perfect. Okay, I'll give you the wolf. If you're talking about the original classic Wolfman, yes, I'll tell you that was perfect. But this one, I honestly thought they did well with as well. They go less is more in this.
Yes, and it works.
Yeah, and you see him, and you see that the wolf or that werewolf is working his way up to him slowly. He moves the thing out of the way, and it shows the werewolf's face so hidden by shadow and darkness, but you understand that it is the werewolf there. Mm-hmm. And then when the kid sees him, he's walking back and forth or you see him swaying. The eyes are swaying red, and you see the claws come out like this. It's just the suspense for when he's trying to light the rocket. And the wolf is basically on him at that moment. That's straight from the book, by the way, folks. The novella, which I have here.
Yeah, that whole sequence where Marty's on his own, and even though he has the new motorized, let's call it what it is. It's a miniaturized motorcycle. Wow,
from the novella. But yeah.
And this is, the tension is like, oh crap, is he going to get him? Is he going to get him? He's going to get him, and he doesn't get him. And it's, but I
And
have to admit, just one more thing, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the rocket goes into the werewolf's eye, that effect was so damn good, and Marty busts out of there. That was just so good.
Are you trolling, Danny? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the Wolfman that was Anthony Hopkins and Benicio del Toro. I also like them too. But that movie was...
From what I hear,
decent. It was decent, but the extended edition harms it. But I do look at it from 3 different perspectives. But getting back, yes, the Werewolf and Silver Bullet, when the person in the suit who was doing this, they put a mechanical head, and that's what you see get hit, where his eyes are actually around the mouth or the neck area. And when he gets hit, it is just so great because you see the head go back, and then it's like, oh my God. It's like, God damn it. And he's shaking his head. And then he just grabs the freaking thing, rips it out of his freaking skull, dude. Okay, it's all right, dude. I was joking with you on that. I'm talking about the look of the werewolf, not talking about the movie as a whole or even the story. Yes, in that movie, I'll honestly say the Wolfman, the updated version of the Wolfman actually does look good in that movie. I'll agree with you there.
Let's just be candid here. Yeah. Just real quick. Let's just be candid here. In every werewolf movie, just practically every werewolf movie that's ever been done, the werewolf always looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Always looks good. Now, the only time I've seen... Sorry, go ahead, Orange.
American Werewolf in Paris. Ugh, no.
No, American Werewolf in London. Better. One of the best.
Very much better.
One of the best werewolf transformations ever put on screen.
Yeah. But anyway, as we were saying.
Go ahead.
Well, Marty books out of there after he rips it out. And even as Marty's driving off, you hear the wolf roaring out behind him because that's when he looks back and whatnot. But he's not chasing him. And the kid climbs up. This kid is crippled, folks. So his upper arm strength is just freaking up there. He climbs up without legs, gets into his bed, and he is just crawled up against the wall, terrified.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. How you doing, Geek or Geeks? Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Geek. How you doing, man?
And so he calls Uncle Rick. I saw the werewolf. I shot him in the eye, man. I saw the werewolf. There's no such thing as werewolves, buddy. Oh, Jesus. Marty, you had a bad dream, man. No, there's no such things as werewolves. Have some pity on your poor uncle. Click. And then his girlfriend is like, who was that? Obscene caller.
Obscene phone call.
Or, obscene phone call. It's like, oh my God, dude. Really? And it's... So we then see, or I'm saying they keep the same story, Silver Bullet, but use today's technology to make the wolf look more sinister and scary. They need to keep the exact same story is what I'm saying. I can agree with you there, but what they should do is make it still practical. Keep it practical.
Yes.
Practical effects work best.
Yeah, CGI just for a werewolf transformation. I don't think I've seen a convincing one yet.
If they can do a little bit of, even with the transformation in this movie, because they do show some of the they show a transformation in this movie.
Yeah, one time.
It looked good. Now,
Yes,
but yeah. So he's with Janie the next day, and he tells Janie, he's like, "Where's mom? She's in town at the store. Why? What's going on? Janie, I need to tell you something, and nobody will believe me. And if you don't help me, this kid is terrified."
yeah.
Corey Haim played it
family.
perfectly. He played it perfectly. This kid is terrified. And she's like, "What is it?" And then we get the narration. What he told me is absolutely unbelievable, but for some weird reason, I believed him. And one thing I was absolutely certain of, Marty believed it all. So when I went into town that day to check for cans for the MedQ or cans for business, I was also looking for a man or a woman with just one eye. And I absolutely love how they did that. And let me check messages to see if Kate has responded. Nope. And she hasn't, or something's going on. She's been unable to get back in, folks. But sorry, we did lose Kate. And doesn't seem she's coming back. But anyway.
Dang.
I'm wondering what the heck happened to her. Because now she just kind of fell off face of the earth.
Maybe her phone died. It does happen.
Probably might be the case. But so getting back into it, I love how the scene plays where she's looking with everybody and they focus on the eyes a lot.
Mm.
And what did you think about the scene where she's looking for people with one eye?
It's honestly the cinematography for that entire sequence was, I think, really well done. The tracking just on the people's faces, and in particular, they don't have the eyes highlighted. They don't have the Morticia Adams light on anybody's face, but you can tell they're wanting you to look for someone with just one eye. But when they finally get to when she gets done collecting and she could never a good combination. Do not let him on.
No, it isn't.
I say that,
but yeah.
I say this as his friend.
But anyway, continuing on.
Anyway, but when she finally gets done collecting and she heads to the church and to see Reverend Lowe, because he's the head of the medical drive,
MedQ drive.
MedQ drive. Oh, I'm not Soul Assassin. Soul Assassin, maybe if you came over to my channel once in a while, you would know I actually did a review of both Addams Family movies the other night. You slacker. Mm-hmm. I'm not disrespecting Morticia Adams. I'm just saying they didn't use the Morticia Adams light for everybody's face to just highlight their eyes like they did with Angelica Houston. But when they finally show Reverend Lowe's face and he's got one eye bandage, I was like, I knew it. Here's the thing with this movie. I was like, I feel like I know who the werewolf is. And then when the priest dreams about the werewolves, I'm like, okay, either he knows who it is or he is the werewolf. But when they show the eye bandaged, I'm like, I knew it.
It's now beyond any doubt.
It's the Reverend. The Reverend did it.
Yep.
It wasn't the butler, it was the Reverend.
Yep. And I do love how they reveal that. It's like she's pissed off at her brother. It's like, I can't believe it. Believe in Marty, little asshole. She's like, hey, or hello, Reverend. No, I'm here to turn my bottles in. And she's like, how are you? Oh, I'm all right. It's just my brother makes me so mad. Well, Janie, and then it shows the one eye. Little brothers can sometimes do that. And he's saying it because he knows exactly why or how she can be pissed off at him. I mean, her little brother shot his fucking eye out. Essentially. Yep. It's like.
Wait, you have to ask the
so
question.
She's like,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
You have to ask the question. Well, what do you expect him to do, Reverend? You're about to kill him and possibly eat him. Do you want him to just let him do that, or do you want him? Should you maybe show a little respect for the kid actually defending himself?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you're.
And
I'm done. Go ahead.
So she goes in. She's getting her stuff ready. She sees a mouse, freaks out, falls into the cans, and she finds the Peacekeeper bat. And she then sees a shadow coming up behind her. And yes, folks, be sure to claw up that like button. It helps the channel. And she then notices that Reverend Lowe has only one eye. So she does her damnedest to get the hell out of there, coming up with any fucking excuse. They got a little too much sun. Well, why don't you lay down in the park? No. And, well, or she's like, better just go home. I could drive you. No. And it's just so freaking. So it's like, give your best to my brother. Yeah, peacemaker bat. Yeah. And she's like, give your best to my brother, Jane, or give my best to your brother, Jane. And she's almost trips over her damn car. She's like, I will.
As soon as I catch my breath, I'm running the hell away from you.
Yeah, and so she gets home, she tells him, and she's like, what are we going to do? If we tell anybody, grown-ups, I mean, they'd laugh. What are we going to do? I think I know. So what do? They write him threatening letters. Folks, you know the ones where you would cut the letters out of the magazines, glue them to a piece of paper, leaving your fingerprints all over it back in the 80s. Fingerprints were you were still able to dust for prints back in the 80s. It wasn't an exact science, but they could do it. Now, Marty freaking wrote like 3 or 4 freaking letters to the Reverend, and he's looking at these letters like very pissed off. And one of them says, I know who you are. I know what you are. You should kill yourself. And the narration of older Jane is like, then we told Uncle Red what we were up to. His reaction was less than serene. Holy jumped up ball-headed Jesus Palomino. I love how he just strings that out. Holy jumped up ball-headed Jesus Palomino. And Janie's like, Uncle Red, from him, I would expect this. Sometimes I think your common sense got paralyzed along with your legs. But you, Janie, you're Miss Polly Practical. And she's like, you wouldn't understand. I understand that my niece and my nephew have been sending little love letters to the local minister or suggesting he should gargle with broken glass or eat a rat poison omelet. It came for me. I shot it in the eye. Now he's wearing an eye patch. I wish I had a tape recorder so you could hear what you sound like. And she's like, well, what about the baseball bat that Jane saw? What about it? You know who used to have a baseball like that? Mr. Knopfler. And she's like, it looked like Bigfoot used it for a toothpick. You know, I love all of this in here. I would love to be on this panel, but yeah, I know. To not talk in cursive. I get it, Envy Geeks.
Cursive? Dude, you'd be talking gibberish. Dude,
you are definitely baked like cake right now, so you might want to sleep it off.
Yes.
But,
Geek, go to sleep.
He's like, you want to know what I think? No, we just called you down here to admire your pretty little face. I just love how he fires that off right at freaking Garrett. You better, or you watch your mouth, son. You are on thin ice with me, son. I think you had a hallucination. Probably just a broomstick. It was not. And she's like, you want me to show it to you? I'm not afraid. I'll show it to you right now. No. I'm a little too old to be playing Hardy Boys. Meet Reverend Werewolf. I love that line. too old to be playing Hardy Boys meets Reverend Werewolf. So then they go and he's like, do you see your suspect, Marty? Yes. You're telling me that a guy who took a rocket to the eye 3 nights ago is out here painting a thermometer? He'd either be dead or in the hospital or he'd be dead. I didn't shoot him when he was a man. I shot him when he, what, a werewolf? Oh, Jesus. Janie, you don't believe this shit, do you? And she explains, she's like, I don't know what I believe, but all I know is that it was a baseball bat and not a broomstick. And there was also some, and she describes that it smelled like an animal's den in the garage. And she believes in Marty and that Gary Busey, our Uncle Red, used to believe in him too. And he's like, kids. So they don't really have anything to go off of right now. So they cut to Marty watching some kids play baseball. And this is his little moment of depression because obviously kids who are wheelchair bound will have this eventually, where they wish that they could be like other kids running around playing without being confined to a chair. And so he's on his way home, or while he's watching these kids, Reverend Lowe pulls up in his car. And Reverend Lowe is looking at Marty like he wants to kill him. So when Marty's driving home on his silver bullet, the big one, Reverend Lowe makes his move. And Marty recognizes him. He's like, oh my God. And Reverend Lowe almost launches him off a bridge. And we get a nice chase scene here. He smacks into the wheelchair with his car, leaving scratch marks. Or paint scratch marks, which is important. And the chase eventually leads into a condemned bridge. And Reverend Lowe gets in there and he's like, please, I won't tell anyone. You should have left me alone, Marty. And I'm sorry it's come to this, but I would never, or you have to believe me, I would never willingly hurt a child. But you should have left me alone. And our religion, and I can't kill myself. Our religion preaches that suicide is the worst sin a man or woman can commit. Stella was going to commit suicide. By killing her, I took her physical life, but I saved her life eternal. And you can see how every act is in concert with the will and mind of God. You see, you meddling little shit. I just love how he delivers that line. You meddling little shit. And it's like,
yeah, that's.
Why did you go that tone, dude?
Yeah,
You're
that
gonna
entire
have an accident, Marty. You're going to be found in the river.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole sequence where Lowe's chasing Marty down after Marty's watching the kids play baseball or whatever. Well, it is at baseball field, so probably baseball, or at least they're practicing. And you're like, you see that car pull up, and it's like, duh, duh, duh.
Yeah.
Duh, duh, duh. Oh God, it's gonna be like Jaws only on land. And the target is crippled, but in a really nice, souped up motorized wheelchair.
Yeah.
That saves his life. I'm like, Uncle Ray, I want one of those. Just my size.
Yeah.
I mean, in that moment,
and
I was I want one of those.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and so a farmer that lives nearby, Mr. Zinneman, starts coming out, and Marty does what any kid in that situation should do. He just starts screaming for Mr. Zinneman to help him under the bridge. Help me, please, help me, Mr. Zinneman. And you see Reverend Lowe does the smart thing. Gets out of there and books. And so now back with Uncle Red. He's like, so did the sheriff say anything? Well, I'm not sure. Now I had no choice after Marty's thrilling tale of wonder. But he's had no complaints about poison pen pals. See, told you. Shut up, Marty. So Uncle Red is looking at the car or over the wheelchair, and he's like, Jane, what color is Lowe's car? Blue? And then she looks down. This blue. It's like, okay, Hardy Boys with a girl. Awesome. I mean, it really does sell it, folks. It's like, this blue. She points it out. And you see Marty get a nice smile out of it. It's like, God, thank God for the support. And there's no more denying it. So he goes to the sheriff. He's like, that is the craziest goddamn story I have ever heard in my life. I know. You believe this, or do you believe any of this? And he just looks away. You do, don't you? Well, how about I believe that Reverend Lowe ought to be checked out? That can be arranged. Why wouldn't this idiot go without backup? The frickin' sheriff goes after the Reverend, folks. At night, it's a half moon out, by the way. Not a full moon, so you'd think he might be safe. Right? Mm-hmm. And it looks like, am I coming in clearly?
On my end, yes. Yes, you are.
Okay, good, because it's showing a low connection fairly good. Okay, alrighty.
Oh, you're coming through just fine. Yeah, that, I have to say, if Marty was my son or my nephew or whatever, be like, okay, you really believe that you've seen this thing. You really believe that the Reverend is trying to kill you because he is the werewolf that's been killing people.
Yeah.
You're my nephew. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's research.
Yep.
But that would be how I would be more accepting, particularly since it's a family member. And him saying, I was attacked by a werewolf, but I didn't kill it, so I'm going to need help here. And I will say, my own uncle Will, my mom's brother, not for so much the real life maniac stuff that Gary Busey does, or the character Uncle Red. But my uncle could be a little off the wall too, just not to the extreme that Uncle Red is. So, but there.
And so,
go ahead.
Now that my signal has come back, sorry.
You're fine, bud.
And so he goes to check him out without backup, half moon. So we all think he'd be safe. And he's looking around Reverend's house or Reverend's shed or garage, and he sees the scratch marks on the car. And you hear that little perk up of the music. That's like, okay, we got him now. And he gets up and he's still looking around. It's like, you just got all the evidence. Now get the fuck out of here, man. No, he's doing his due diligence. And the Reverend is in the garage. Can I help you, Joe? He pulls his gun. I think you better come along with me, Reverend. And he, as he's saying, but it's not my fault. You can act, if you pay attention to his mouth, you see the bottom canines are already elongated. And he also uses the peacemaker back to smash away the light and the gun away from the... Are you falling asleep?
No.
Okay. And he smashes the gun and the light away from him, and he then pulls off his eye patch, and he starts transforming right in front of the sheriff. I'm like, I understand paralyzed with fear, but you're not paralyzed enough to scream. And well, bam, with the freaking baseball bat right on the dude's head, where you see a blood pack explode on the dude's head, so to make it to sell the point that he got his head bashed in. And then you see the face deforming, the skin tear, or the shirt tearing, and all that stuff. And then you see the back or the arm come back up and start beating on him over and over again. Sheriff Howler said he'd check him out, and then nobody sees him again. It's cut right to the next day or whenever. And it's Marty basically talking to Gary or to Uncle Red and Jane. It's like, nobody's seen him again. He's gone missing. Sheriff's gone. Well, what do you want me to do about it? Well, Marty takes off his medallion and he's like, I want you to turn this into a silver bullet.
Mm-hmm.
You just won't let this go, will you? I saw what I saw. Marty, the moon wasn't even full. And Jane chimes in. Well, in the made-up stories, the guy who's a werewolf only changes when the moon is full. But maybe he's like this all the time, only as the moon gets fuller, the guy gets wolfier. And so she takes off her silver crucifix, and she's like, here, use mine too. And he's looking at her, you've gone out of your mind. So they decide to go to a wizard of weapons, an old world craftsman who works at a gun store.
Mm-hmm.
And Uncle Red's like, my nephew has just discovered a Lone Ranger. And I was wondering if you could help me out here. I just love that. I just love that. He's like, I wonder if you could help me out here. And so the guy picks up. So you want a silver bullet, huh? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the silver bullet crafting scene is so freaking great with with old Jane narration, where this guy was like a wizard with weapons. He confirmed the silver content of my crucifix and Marty's medallion, melted them down, and molded them into a silver bullet. In all of the legends that Marty and I have read on werewolves, they all varied on several points, but they all agreed on one. It takes silver to kill a werewolf, and we were taking no chances. And all of this is being said while he is fashioning the bullet. You see the process happen, folks.
Mm-hmm.
You see him pour the molten silver into the thing. You see him pour it into the mold, hammer the cast down to get rid of the slack. And then you see him put it in the chamber, or not the chamber, but into the shell casing, and pull it up to press the bullet full in. And he's like, there it is. Best job I ever done, I think. It's got a low grain load, so it won't tumble. Ought to be pretty accurate. And Uncle Red's still just playing along. He's like, well, shoot, it's just a gag. And the guy looks at him. He's like, and as Uncle Red continues, he's like, I mean, what are you going to shoot a 44 bullet at anyway, made out of silver? How about a werewolf? And Uncle Red just looks at this dude. He's like, oh, fuck, not you too.
Maybe the gunsmith had a run-in with a werewolf once before.
Maybe. You never know. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, folks? Because he's like, how about a werewolf? I mean, damn. What does this guy know? It makes you wonder. It really does. And I love it. Mm-hmm. So then we hear that the next full moon was on Halloween. And by happy coincidence, we were kept into the sole care of Uncle Red. Now, oh my God, Uncle Red fooled his sister into thinking that he won a romantic trick for two thanks to Publishers Clearinghouse. And that's not exactly what happened. So Mom and Dad are getting out of town, and they're so happy about it. And he's like, you kids be good kids and whatnot. And he's like, did you really win a one of the things I still don't understand why it's humorous, but he's like, "Did you really win a trip for two for Publishers Clearinghouse?" No, but your parents are gone, and the moon is full, and I do have a subscription to Popular Mechanics. I don't get it, but I know it's funny. I just don't get it. Why is it funny though? What does he mean by that?
You never know when having a subscription to Popular Mechanics is going to come in handy. Popular Mechanics when you're going up against a werewolf, because they can teach, depending on the issue, it can teach all sorts of neat little doodads and gizmos to fight against a werewolf.
Okay, so basically Popular Mechanics was actually a real thing back then.
Oh yeah, I think it still is. I think it's still a magazine that's still in print. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's what he meant. All right. I didn't know, folks. I was born in the 80s. Doesn't mean I remember everything from the 80s.
It's okay.
But so then we click out to late night. Moon is full, bright outside, and then you see them inside. And this is where the movie is truly dated. You're getting the Star Spangled Banner on the TV at night at 2:50 a.m. in the morning, and it goes off. And after it's done singing the Star Spangled Banner, white noise and static. And you then cut to outside again, and the werewolf comes up, and you see it huff. It's like, and so now you know that the werewolf's there. They're all sleeping until Uncle Red's cigarette burns his hand, and he drops the gun, and everybody wakes up, and he's like, or Janie's like, "Gonna burn yourself up one of these days doing that, Uncle Red." Yeah, maybe. If that would have gone off, that would have been the end of our silver bullet. This is too much.
Be defenseless.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, this is too much. He turns off the TV. You guys are going to bed. Uncle Red, you said, I know what I said, but it's 10 to 3 in the morning and it's not coming. The moon isn't down yet. Well, it's damn near down. And you see the werewolf's hand just gliding along the
wall of the house.
Paneling outside. The outside paneling to the house. And it's like, I'm going to stay up all night with a stupid gun in my hand because I said that I'd do that. But you're going to bed. And so are you. What if I say no? Then I'm going to kick your ass. Saying that to a freaking crippled kid. You couldn't get away with that today now, folks.
Well, not to mention, he wouldn't feel it even if you did.
True, he is paralyzed from the waist down. And so Janie looks over out the window, and she sees the werewolf, and it's there. It's like, "Arr." And she's like, or she screams, and then you see freaking Uncle Red. He's like, "Ah, what? What?" She's like, "It's a werewolf. I saw him. It's a werewolf." What'd you see? The werewolf. What'd you see? I was looking at you.
You.
So he goes and checks. He sticks his head out. Nothing there. A very familiar feeling is starting to come over me. What? He takes the bullet out of the chamber. I'm beginning to feel like a horse's ass. That's what. And so she's like, he's out there. I saw him. She's freaking. I know you did, Janie. Why don't you just go upstairs? Rip. You see the werewolf literally rip the cable out of the power box. Yep. And power goes out. She screams in reaction. He's like, now don't panic. Yeah, well, we don't need it. We don't need no screaming. Anyway, the kid's smart about it. It's like, he's here. Marty could be just a fuse. And everybody's obviously on edge. And he's like, and you see Uncle Red, he's like, whew. And then slightest noise over there. Whew! Shit. And everybody's looking over there. Well, right behind freaking Uncle Red comes the werewolf right through the wall. And this is where you see werewolf full glory, folks. You see it snarling. You see it picking up, throwing Uncle Red around. You see the werewolf or Uncle Red. Now, remember, he took the bullet out of the gun. So when he got thrown, bullet went flying too, goes down into one of those grate areas.
Heating ducts.
Yeah, one of the heating ducts. And Marty is somehow able to fit his fucking hand into that duct.
Or
And
at least
Janie,
fit a couple of his fingers into it. Yeah.
yeah, and Janie manages to go for the gun, and the werewolf picks her up, and you see Uncle Red take on the werewolf, smacking him, or it's like so great, dude. He hits him. He gets some solid shots in, but the werewolf's still tossing him around like a fucking rag doll. And so it then takes a beat looking at Marty, realizing, okay, this thing has a threat. Okay, you're going to shoot me, all right? Guns won't hurt me. Well, this thing did take its time, and it's looking at him, then starts going at him as he already pulls the hammer back and shoots, getting the werewolf in the other eye that's not missing. Yeah, the right eye.
Mm-hmm.
And so it falls down dead, and you see the werewolf is there, and it starts to revert immediately. And this is where the only digital shots came in, folks, where when it gets closer to full human reveal of it being Reverend Lowe, you see the paleness of Reverend Lowe and the fur disappearing. You see the ear shrinking down. You see the hair sliding back into the pores. And it is just so freaking great. And you see them reacting to what, and he's like, holy jumped up Jesus Palomino. Because Uncle Red finally gets up and he's like, what? And then one last scare. You see the dead Reverend Lowe. Just, you hear the werewolf kind of a small little roar or snarl from the werewolf when he jumps out, and then he just slips back and dead. Basically, it's the last bits of traces of evil leaving him. The werewolf spirit is dead, and they're all sitting against the wall, and they're like, Marty, you okay? Everything because of my legs. What's wrong? I don't think I can walk. Nice little triple humor there.
Crippled joke.
Yeah. And so they give their little I love yous to their brother and sister, and she's like, I love you too. And then they freeze it there, and you hear her say, as an older sister, it's like, or I've never been able to say that, or I wasn't always able to say that, but I can say it now. I love you too, Marty. Good night. And then we see the credits roll. Now, what did you think of the entire sequence of the final fight with the werewolf?
I thought it was extremely appropriate in terms of its pacing, in terms of the length and everything, because you don't want a long, protracted, necessarily finale, because we've had so many long kill scenes in this movie. You want something a little bit shorter, but still impactful. And I think the only thing I think might have made it just a little bit better would have been just a little more stalking by the werewolf outside of the house before it busted in. But aside from that, I thought it was nicely paced. It was well balanced and everything. And it worked. It really did. Honestly, it worked. And the fact that it was Marty that took out the werewolf. Now, I meant to say this earlier. I could swear I've seen this movie before, but it has been so long ago that I practically forgot everything about it, except for the fact that it was a werewolf and Gary Busey. Those are the only things I remembered, but I couldn't remember the name of the movie itself. And, but beside, getting back to my main point, the finale works. I think it does. It wraps everything up very nicely. You have Marty be the hero, everything, even though he's crippled. He's the one that takes the shot, kills the werewolf, redeems Reverend Lowe's soul, if you want to look at it that way. And it's just it ties up with a nice little bow. I thought it was a solid end finale.
Definitely. And so how would you rate this movie out of 10?
I would give it. I would give it a 9. I really would, because I could watch this any time of year, not just necessarily around Halloween, and I would thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, this is kind of like one of those. It's kind of like the movie The Fog. You'd watch this on a night with a full moon, kind of like you would watch The Fog on a foggy night, or even watch this movie on a night that there is a lot of fog, even kind of an homage to the whole swamp sequence in the movie.
Yeah. As for
Hey,
me,
Jacob.
I would, out of objective standard, without bias, I'd put this movie about an 8 to a 9. This movie was well done. The story was great, compelling. The practical effects did very well done. The cutting for each attack scene is incredibly well done. Small cutting pacing issues here and there. Like the scene in the pottery house where the third victim, the asshole dad, dropped something here. Like I said back during that scene where he says, or when he says shit, and then he cuts to him going through the pottery shed again. That is a small little cutscene that just kind of feels displaced, or how it was. However, the movie itself, the story, the werewolf, the practical effects, even the digital effects of him being transferred or regressing back to human form after he's been killed is very well done. So yeah, definitely an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. Subjective, I absolutely love the movie. It is great. The story is wonderful. The narration doesn't feel forced or out of place. It is put in the right moments. It's giving a little bit of enhancement to each scene. The moviegoer, it's absolute 10 out of 10. That, like I said, folks, this movie is the best werewolf movie out there. And as the cult following has, it's the best movie, or it's the best werewolf movie that you've never heard of. Because Silver Bullet, honestly, is not well heard of. The director, Dan Attias, hasn't directed another movie since. This was a one and done. And he has done, I think, TV movies and TV shows and whatnot. That's it. The music by John Chataway is also well done. This movie is just pure quality for an 80s monster movie. And honestly, if you can find any sort of fault in it other than the stuff, or other than objective fault or objective flaw, then I honestly don't know what to say to you. I'd pray for you. But this movie is seriously good.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Anyway, we're at 2 hours over, and I have got to get to sleep because I got to be up at 2 a.m. in the morning to put wood on the wood stove. So probably going to try to stick it out until 2 a.m., but I'm also going to try to get some sleep. Thank you so much for coming in, Ambassador. And Kate, if you're listening, thank you for coming in. Sorry that somehow you got kicked out. And also, folks, I'm sorry for those of you who've been tuned in earlier with the crazy grandma in the chat. Soul Assassin, thank you for being my harvester of souls in the chat. It worked brilliantly. Jacob Ironside, thank you for coming in, albeit late. NB Geeks, thank you for coming in. Soul Assassin. Danny from Comic Chat, thank you for coming in, dude. Always a pleasure. Fook Norris, thank you for coming in.
Tim Stock.
Who else do we have?
Tim was in
Tim
here
Stock.
for a few minutes. Yeah.
Happy Dino 8000. And who else? Vanja, thank you for coming in. And Christian Freights, thank you for coming in. Janet with Another Planet, thank you for coming in. And Jet Sparks 373, thank you for coming in.
Yes.
And that, I believe I got everybody. And
You did.
the psychotic grandma can go fuck off. In fact, here's to that psychotic grandma, here you go.
Shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Next week will be the mystery review. For the hints of that mystery review are Tommy Lee Jones and Survival. If you know it, do not give it away. Have a wonderful night. And Ambassador, give yourself a plug before we
wrap up. Out. You can come on over, just check out my channel, The Ambassador. We talk cinema, we talk movies, modern, retro, and ultra retro. We talk streaming series. If it's geeky, nerdy, and fun, we discuss it, we break it down, and we have a good time doing it. So come on over, check it out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and make sure you smash the like button for this stream if you catch it on the replay. And I do want to thank my good friend and our host with the most, some Orange Hat Reviews.
Thank you for coming in. Anyway, folks, catch it on the replay. Leave a comment down below. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Have a happy Halloween, and always remember, stay humble.